Hi. So this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so go easy on me, right? I'm a beginner, not really very used to waffling. So I'm down here, down my local river, right? Just doing some lip picking and paddle boarding, having the time of my life. And I just wanted a minute to those who are willing to listen to talk about parts of my life and my life experience. So from quite a young age, yeah, I grew up kind of not like real country. Like I'm only about 30 miles outside of London, right? But I'm in the country a bit. I'm surrounded by woods and farmland and everything else. And I've always loved it. I've always just been out in it. I'd live out in it if I could. Um, and I grew to be a tree surgeon and get involved in like a lot of projects that had ecologists working with them and everything else. And worked over kind of a broad spectrum of the industry. And I've just seen in my own time, right, this huge decline in nature around us, in trees, yeah, in biodiversity. But I do remember as a kid, you used to drive in the country and your windscreen used to be full of bugs. Now I don't. That's not a thing now. Not unless you go out like to Devon or something, or what? You know, it's mad. It's mad. It's mad that in the Industrial Revolution, right, hundreds of years ago, scientists of the time said that our atmosphere is composed of certain things. And if you start pouring other things into it, there is a risk that that is going to cause a problem with the atmosphere. But naturally, as humans, we wanted progress. And I understand progress, right? It's great. But it's not progress anymore, guys. We are at a point where our natural systems are breaking down, right? As we speak, the rainforest is breaking down, right? Climate change isn't a problem for the future. We are in it, right? Flooding, wildfires, like there's no tomorrow. And the media filter your stuff, right? So you don't. They can get away with not telling you something, essentially not to cause panic or to it's for their own invested interests. Do you know what I mean? And I think a good example of that, so you know that I'm not just some lunatic with some conspiracy theory, yeah, is Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion. They don't, well, Just Stop Oil specifically, actually, really, in this example, they don't just go around blocking roads, right? They don't just cause upset to the working man, because that isn't a good action, right? Everyone knows that. It's obvious. I don't want to be. Do you know what I mean? No one does. All right? But when they attack the Daily Mail, right? Or when they have attacked one of these other news vendors to try get some public attention to their cause, it doesn't get reported on. So when you see a terrified girl on top of the M25, like Chris Packham said in his documentary, how can you not see and feel the desperate plea to make people understand that we're teetering and that it's not a problem of 100 years, it's a problem of a decade, maybe two at best, maybe less. Climate scientists generally underestimate things massively because things are so uncertain, yeah, and a scientist's job is to play it safe, to present the facts. So something can't be calculated, how can it be included for them? So with all that in mind, right, and our outcome looking bleak, and I don't want to just spout off climate science to you. One, because I'm not a scientist, all right, so I probably won't express it in the best way. You should look it up yourself. Yeah, and you should look it up from multiple reliable sources so that you can get quite a good understanding of the broadness and complete and utter inclusion of of everything in it. Because it's mental. And it's quite, well, it's terrifying. So basically, this year, Rishi Sunak, as I'm sure everyone knows, has said yes to 100 new licenses for oil and gas fracking off the coast of Scotland, and currently HS2 is in the news a lot for quite a ridiculous reason. So let's wait and see what that's hiding, right? Because I'm sure that's something to draw our attention away. But the point is, whether the government aren't going to do anything. I think that when the Paris Agreement was made, the plan was to keep warming below 1.5 degrees by the end of the century. Yeah? We are currently at 1.1. Now, Dave Wallace, in his book, Uninhabitable Earth, another great source of information, he says that on that scale, 1.5 degrees kind of works out to the equivalent of 25 holocausts, right, in terms of displacement and suffering, making parts of the planet potentially unlivable. And government is still doing nothing, right? And fuel has grown as an industry. These fossil fuel industries have grown so exponentially and are still growing on quite an unfathomable scale, to be perfectly honest, that we are actually, and this is from reliable sources inside Extinction Rebellion and other places like Just Stop Oil and everything, who are kind of a bit everywhere, because everyone from all walks of life are beginning to see the problem. They're everywhere. I've been to a couple of these meetings. Most of them are like, the diversity in the meetings is just such a good representation of how this problem is encompassing everyone. Because everyone is waking up, right? And if the government aren't going to do anything to stop or curb this problem, which they clearly aren't, as I expressed earlier, and as you can see, then it's up to the people, right? And I'm not saying that you can have a revolution like you would have in France or something like that. Like, you can't add to the problem of the suffering, because climate change is already going to hit us like war. It's going to start famine probably first, because of the breakdown of global food systems and farming. And the rich and the governments have made it very clear that they're only interested in protecting their own interests. They're not interested in protecting ours. And if they're not interested in protecting our interests, and upholding our human rights, look up your human rights. And just see how many of them you think the government are violating, because I think you probably get a few. For a start, everyone has a right to life. Everyone has a right to freedom, everyone has a right to security, alright? And the government says this, and then they don't care. We're on our own. And if we're on our own, and the government, as I say, look around you. They're not with you. They're not looking out for your best interests. They're looking out for theirs. That means that we have to come together to look out for our best interests. That means that we as the common people and the masses need to stand up. All right? Legion. Many. And show them that we're not up for it. Because I'm certainly not. I don't want to die. That's ridiculous. I don't want this government. I don't want this government to take away my son's future, you know? So, to get involved. Vive la revolution. I'm gonna do what I can with this video. I'm gonna get involved everywhere I can. I've retired from tree surgery now because I just don't think it's a sensible thing to be doing. And I'm gonna probably get a part-time medial job that I can try support my son with in some way, with help from some family. And look, whatever time you can spare and whatever you can do it, because it needs fixing, and it's up to us. And I'll probably leave it there.